I met Ryan Blake on a quiet afternoon when the city felt like it was pausing between heartbeats. Rain had been falling since morning. Not the dramatic kind, but a soft, steady drizzle that blurred streetlights and softened the edges of the world. I ducked into a small bookstore to escape the cold, unaware that I was about to walk into the most transformative love of my life. The store smelled like paper, dust, and time. Somewhere in the back, a vinyl record hummed an old jazz tune. And there he was, standing in the poetry aisle, flipping through a worn paperback as if every page held a secret meant only for him. He looked up when I lingered too long. "Do you actually read poetry?" I asked lightly. "Or are you just trying to look like a tragic intellectual?" A slow, genuine smile curved his lips. "A little of both," he replied. "Some days I need words for feelings I can't explain." There was warmth in his voice. Not loud, not flashy, but steady. The kind of warmth that made you feel safe without knowing why. We started talking. About books we loved. About childhood memories that felt like old movies. About music that made our chests ache in a strangely beautiful way. Time seemed to dissolve. The rain streaked the windows like tears neither of us had cried yet. Ryan listened when I spoke, truly listened. As if every thought I shared carried meaning. When our hands brushed reaching for the same book, a quiet spark ran through me. It wasn't dramatic. It was softer, deeper, like a beginning whispered instead of shouted. We exchanged numbers. Then coffee turned into long walks. Walks turned into late-night conversations. Conversations turned into confessions, about fears, regrets, dreams we rarely said out loud. He told me once, while we sat on a park bench under fading sunlight, "I've always felt like something was missing. Like I was waiting for a voice I hadn't heard yet." I laughed, trying to hide the way my heart tightened. "And did you find it?" He looked at me, not casually, not politely, but like he was seeing something fragile and precious. "I think I did," he said softly. There were small moments that felt impossibly large. The way he remembered the little things, how I liked my coffee, the song that made me cry, the childhood story I had once shared in passing. The way his laughter felt like sunlight breaking through clouds. The way silence between us never felt empty. One night, walking beneath flickering streetlights, he stopped suddenly. "I'm terrified," he admitted. "Of what?" I asked. "Of how much I already care," he said. I felt the same fear, but also something stronger. Something braver. And when he finally kissed me, it wasn't rushed or reckless. It felt like a promise forming. A quiet agreement between two hearts that hadn't yet learned how dangerous love could be. That was when I knew. We weren't just falling. We were stepping into something that would change us forever. At first, the change was subtle, so quiet that even I tried to ignore it. I told myself I was just tired, overworked, emotionally overwhelmed. But Ryan noticed the shift before I was ready to admit it. He always did. He noticed the way my laughter faded sooner than it used to, the way my eyes lingered on nothing, the way silence began to feel heavier around me. "You've been distant lately," he said one night as we sat on the couch, the soft glow of the TV lighting his worried expression. "Not from me, from everything." "I'm fine," I replied too quickly. But the word tasted false. Some mornings, getting out of bed felt like dragging myself through water. Colors seemed duller. Music didn't hit as deeply. Even love, the thing that once felt like oxygen, sometimes felt far away like a memory instead of a living force. Ryan tried to bring me back to myself. He planned little surprises, left notes in my bag, showed up with coffee just the way I liked it. He held my hands when I felt like I was slipping and whispered, "Stay with me, please." But the harder he tried, the more guilty I felt. Because I didn't understand what was happening to me. There were moments when I could see fear growing in his eyes. Not the loud kind, but the quiet terror of someone watching the person they love slowly drift out of reach. "You don't look at the world the same way anymore," he told me softly one evening while we walked through a park dusted with falling leaves. "It's like something is dimming inside you." I wanted to deny it, to laugh it off, to pretend I wasn't unraveling. Instead, my voice trembled. "I feel like I'm disappearing," I admitted. "Like pieces of me are fading, and I don't know how to stop it." He stopped walking, turned to face me fully. "Don't say that," he whispered, gripping my arms. "You're still here. I won't let you vanish." But I could feel it, a quiet erosion of warmth, a fog settling over my heart. Some days I felt emotionally numb. Other days, overwhelmed by sadness without a clear cause. Ryan began researching, asking questions, suggesting doctors, therapy, anything that might explain the slow collapse of my emotional world. Meanwhile, confusion started to creep between us. There were nights when he wanted closeness and I felt hollow. Nights when he reached for reassurance and I struggled to give it. I could sense his frustration, his helplessness, his growing fear. "Talk to me," he pleaded once, voice shaking. "I feel like I'm losing you and I don't even know why." Tears spilled before I could stop them. "I don't know either," I cried. "That's what scares me." The breaking point came one night when the weight became unbearable. I sat on the floor, shaking, breath uneven, convinced that something inside me had shattered beyond repair. Ryan rushed to my side, wrapping his arms around me as I sobbed into his chest. "I don't feel like myself anymore," I whispered through tears. "I feel dim, like my light is going out." He held me tighter, pressing his forehead to mine. "Then I'll be your light until you find yours again," he said. But fear flickered in his eyes. Because love, no matter how strong, can feel terrifying when it's fighting something invisible. And from that night on we both knew something precious was slipping away. And neither of us yet understood why. Ryan didn't leave. That was the strangest and most heartbreaking part. Even as I felt myself fading, even as our world grew heavier, he stayed. But something in him began to change, slowly and quietly, like a fracture spreading beneath the surface. He used to laugh easily. He used to fill a room with warmth. Now his smiles came less often, thinner, tired, like echoes of the man he used to be. First I thought he was just exhausted. Then I realized he was unraveling. He started speaking less, thinking more. Some nights he would sit beside me in silence, staring at nothing, as if fighting thoughts too loud to say out loud. I could see tension in the way his jaw tightened, in the way his hands clenched when he thought I wasn't looking. "You don't have to carry this alone," I told him once. He shook his head gently. "I'm not carrying it alone," he said. "I'm carrying it for you too." His love didn't fade. If anything, it deepened, but it became heavier, more urgent, more desperate. I could feel his fear. The terror of losing me, of failing me, of not being enough to save what was breaking inside me. Some days he tried to hide it. Other days the cracks showed. He snapped more easily, lost sleep, drifted between hope and despair in the same breath. I watched him struggle with emotions he had never learned how to express: pain, anger, helplessness, devotion tangled together until they became a storm. One night, I woke up and found him sitting at the kitchen table at 3 a.m., staring at a cold cup of coffee. "You okay?" I whispered. He looked up, eyes bloodshot. "I'm scared," he admitted quietly. "Not of loving you. I'll never stop loving you. I'm scared of what happens if I can't save you." That sentence broke something in me. Because he wasn't just afraid. He was fighting a war inside himself. A war between exhaustion and devotion. Between the instinct to protect his own heart and the refusal to ever let me go. And yet he never pulled away. Even when he felt like a shadow of himself. He would still hold my hand when I trembled. Still brush my hair back when I cried. Still whisper, "I'm here." Even when his voice sounded tired and raw. Sometimes I caught him watching me like I was fragile glass. Something beautiful he might lose if he touched too hard. "I'm not going anywhere," I tried to reassure him. But he shook his head. "You don't understand," he murmured. "I'm not afraid you'll leave. I'm afraid life will take you from me." And in those moments I saw his quiet strength. A man breaking. A man exhausted. A man afraid. And yet, a man who refused to surrender love. His silence spoke louder than words. It said, "I'm falling apart, but I'm staying." Ryan refused to accept that my fading was random. While I struggled just to feel present in my own life, he began searching for meaning in every detail. Every memory, every medical note, every emotional shift I couldn't explain. It became his quiet mission, to uncover what had been taken from me. First it was practical. Doctor visits, therapy referrals, long conversations with professionals who spoke in careful clinical language. They used words like depression, suppressed trauma, emotional burnout. None of it felt like a complete answer. Ryan wanted more than labels. He wanted truth. He started asking me questions, not aggressively, but with a gentle persistence that felt both loving and terrifying. When did this really start? What happened before you began feeling this way? What are you not telling yourself? Some questions hurt. Some memories resisted. Some truths trembled just below the surface, begging not to be touched. But he kept going. Late at night he would scroll through old photos, reread our old messages, replay moments in his mind, searching for the point where my light first began to dim. Eventually the past cracked open. There were things I had buried so deeply that even I had convinced myself they no longer mattered. Old grief, emotional neglect, a relationship from years before that had quietly shattered my sense of safety. Moments where I had learned to stay silent instead of speaking pain. Moments where I had learned to disappear instead of asking for care. Ryan listened as the truth surfaced piece by piece. Not with judgment. Not with anger. But with a fierce protective stillness. "That's what broke you," he said softly one night. "You kept surviving things no one should have had to carry alone." The realization hit him hard. This wasn't just sadness. This wasn't just exhaustion. This was something stolen, years of emotional safety, a sense of worth, a feeling of being fully alive. And Ryan felt it personally. As if life itself had wronged me. As if something had robbed the woman he loved of her glow. He confronted my past. Emotionally, symbolically, sometimes literally. He encouraged me to face old wounds. He helped me write letters I never planned to send. He challenged the lies I had learned about myself, that I was too sensitive, too much, too broken. "You're not fading," he told me firmly. "You were wounded. There's a difference. And wounds can heal." There was urgency in him now. He wasn't just supporting me, he was fighting for me. He made decisions with new intensity. Adjusted his life. Sacrificed comfort. Rearranged priorities. Turned his fear into action. "I'm not going to let the past win," he said. "Not over you. Not over us." For the first time I saw him as something more than a lover. He became a protector of my healing. A seeker of justice for my pain. A man standing between me and the darkness. And though I was still fragile, still lost at times, one truth became impossible to ignore. Ryan was no longer waiting. He was rising. Ryan was no longer the man I had met in that quiet bookstore. Love had reshaped him. Not gently, but through pressure, sacrifice, and fear that carved depth into his soul. He used to be light-hearted, playful, effortlessly warm. Now he carried a quiet gravity, like someone who had seen how fragile happiness truly is. Caring for me, fighting for me, changed him. He became more disciplined, more serious, more alert to emotional danger. He learned patience in ways that hurt. He learned restraint when anger threatened to surface. He learned how to stay strong when everything inside him wanted to collapse. There were lines on his face that hadn't been there before. Sleepless nights had left shadows under his eyes. Sometimes he looked older than his years, not from time, but from responsibility and love stretched to its limits. One evening, as we sat together on the balcony, the city lights trembling below us, I studied him. "You've changed," I said quietly. He nodded. "So have you." "But you've carried so much," I whispered. "More than you ever should have." He looked at me with a softness that still felt like home. "I chose this," he said. "I chose you." Yet I could see the cost. He had given up comfort. He had given up ease. He had given up the version of himself who didn't know how easily hearts can break. There were moments when his strength felt heroic. And moments when it looked like quiet exhaustion. Sometimes he confessed the truth he rarely let show. "I get scared," he admitted one night, voice low. "Not because I regret loving you, but because loving you changed the way I experience everything. Pain hits deeper now. Fear feels sharper. Hope feels heavier." Love had expanded him and wounded him. It made him braver. It made him more protective. It made him more vulnerable than he had ever been. I realized then that love doesn't just save people. It reshapes them. Ryan had become someone stronger, more intense, more emotionally awake, but also someone who carried scars no one else could see. And yet, when he held my hand, his grip was steady. "I'd do it again," he said simply. Because even though love had scarred him, It had also given his life meaning. And in his eyes I saw both the weight of what it cost and the quiet pride of what it created. We never became the people we were before. There is a quiet grief in admitting that. A soft mourning for the lighter versions of ourselves who didn't yet understand how sharp love can be. But there is also a deeper truth. What we lost, we replaced with something stronger, heavier, and more real. I didn't vanish. I didn't fade into nothing. I healed, slowly, unevenly, imperfectly. Some days I felt bright again. Other days the shadows returned. Healing was not a straight line. It was a series of steps forward, backward, sideways, but always alive. Ryan stayed through all of it. Not as a savior. Not as a hero. But as a man who chose love even when it hurt. There were moments when I caught him watching me. Not with fear anymore, but with reverence. As if surviving together had turned us into something rare. We went through fire, I told him once. He smiled faintly. And we didn't burn. But I knew the truth. We did burn. We just didn't disappear. Love had bruised us. Marked us. Rewritten us. It taught us that devotion can feel like pain. And pain can feel like proof that something mattered deeply. Sometimes I still ache for the girl I used to be. Carefree, untouched, unaware. But then I look at the woman I became. A woman who learned endurance. A woman who learned to feel deeply without running. A woman who learned that love is not only a feeling. It's a choice made again and again, even when it costs everything. Ryan once asked me, was it worth it? I thought for a long moment. Yes, I said. Even the hurt. Especially the hurt. Because love that never wounds. Never truly transforms. And now when I think of us, of all we survived, all we lost, all we became, I understand something quietly sacred. Love and pain are not enemies. They are intertwined. They shape each other. They give each other meaning. Some stories end with happiness. Ours ends with truth. And the truth is this. Love hurts because it is real. And sometimes the deepest pain becomes the most beautiful proof that we lived, we felt, and we truly loved. The love that wounded us became the love that defined us. And I would choose it again, even knowing the cost.